Welcome to the Pet Loss Companion. I'm Ken Delvecchio. I'm here with my friend and co-author Nancy Saxton-Lopez and a very special guest who we'll introduce in just a moment. This is a program that grew out of the book that we published a while back called The Pet Loss Companion, Healing Advice from Family Therapists Who Lead Pet Loss Groups. And a lot of what we do on this program is we read letters from audience members who share their stories of loss, the story of their animal's life and death and how they're doing in their healing. And if you'd like to write to us, please do that. You can reach me at kenddv@gmail.com and Nancy at nancysaxtonlopez@gmail.com. If you do write to us, please just let us know whether or not it's okay to share your story. We will get back to you. In any case, one or both of us will write back to you. And so we welcome that correspondence. There's ways that you can support our program. You'll find them in the description that accompanies the broadcast or the replay, whichever way you find it. And we also just like you to know that this program is a friend of Dakin Humane Society in Springfield, Massachusetts. So Dakin is a shelter and adoption center that has a whole bunch of community programs, one of which is a Zoom cost-free pet loss support group that I facilitate once a month. It's on the second Tuesday of the month. It runs from 6 o'clock to 7:30 p.m. And the link to RSVP is in the description. You can join from anywhere in the world, and in fact, people do. And it's the mix of people is really powerful because you hear many different perspectives. You hear from people who are in different points in the process of their grief. And so if that would be helpful for you, please do join us. And then finally, we want to ask, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the program. Also, if you can leave a comment or a thumbs up, that always helps the algorithm to make the program more accessible and visible to others who may benefit from it as well. And finally, we have an affiliate relationship with a company called Bereave. Bereave makes these very finely crafted memorial plaques, that kind of thing that you would put on a memorial garden or a gravesite or maybe a place where you keep mementos inside your home. And if you purchase a plaque through the link in our description, we will get a little bit of a kickback. So you'll be providing a bit of support to us in so doing. And so we want to introduce our guest, and let me give you his very brief bio. So his name is Harry Bliss. Harry Bliss is the creator of the internationally syndicated Bliss and a cartoonist and cover artist for the New Yorker. He is co-author of 2 New York Times best-selling books with Steve Martin and has written and illustrated more than 25 books for children. He is the founder of the Cornish CCS Residency Fellowship, which I believe is the Center for Cartoon Studies for graphic novelists in Cornish, New Hampshire. And we are with him to discuss his new book, which is called You Can Never Die, a graphic memoir by Harry Bliss. And we are absolutely thrilled to have him with us. So welcome, Harry.
Yes.
Thank you.
We're really happy to hear you.
It's such a long introduction. I always feel strange, but it makes me feel like I'm like 75. Like adds 15 years to my life. 26.
You got a lot done. You got a lot done in those whatever number of years.
Yeah.
So Nancy, want to get us started?
Yeah, tell us about what we know a little bit from the bio of who you are. And tell us about what led you to write this book about your little Penny and how that all manifested. We were talking a little bit about it before we went live, but if you could talk about that, that would be really helpful, I think, for our audience.
Yeah, sure. Well, we had Penny, my wife and I had Penny for 17 years, and she was a mini poodle. And she passed in 2021. And what happened for me at that time was I experienced a grief that I'd never had experienced before. It was a profound outpouring of grief and sadness. And I needed a way to process that somehow. And what I did was I had been keeping journals for years, 10 or 15 years. I write in my journal every day, every morning and every night. I generate cartoon ideas and so on. So I began journaling about the loss and writing about it, and drawing pictures,
Mm-hmm.
sort of documenting what I was going through. And at a certain point, there were some autobiographical things that would come into it. And I thought about putting it together in a book, the whole experience. And that took 3 years. But initially, I needed some way, some mechanism to process my grief. And I find that when I put things on paper, I write about them and draw them, there is some kind of completeness to that. It's not an end, but it helps me. There's a scaffolding
Right.
that is underneath that. So I was processing the grief and putting up some sort of scaffolding that I could understand the structure of it all, if that makes any sense.
It,
Absolutely makes sense.
it makes perfect sense, and it's something that we recommend regularly. People write that if their talent is writing, if their talent is drawing, if they want to make collages, if they want to make videos. Some people want to make a mixtape that reminds them, because if you do that, you get it out of yourself. You get your thoughts and feelings out of yourself, and it gives you at least the beginnings of some perspective on what you're going through. So that's great.
Yeah, we talk about that every podcast, right? Every episode, because these are people that write those stories, and it's so helpful and cathartic for them, as it has been for you, I think.
Yes.
And then to read them, that we read them, also is like they really appreciate that.
Yeah, I think there was also an unconscious need to connect. I think that's why I wanted to make a book and to turn this into something that I could share. And I did some of that on, social media, on Instagram, and the response there was great. But yeah, the idea that you mentioned like a pet loss group, like group therapy, I would be all over that. I mean, really.
The next one is May 13th. You're welcome to join.
Yeah, I mean it, because it's like I said, that experience opened up so many doors to other areas of and not in a sad or depressing way, but in some ways it was beneficial to me moving forward in my life to go through it. But it's hard because, like I said, I've got another dog, and I understand that I'm going to go through it again. And I'm new to this. This is, Penny was the first dog I lost that I kind of worshipped, and my wife too. So
she adored you, and you adored her, right? And that's what happens. You connect. It's the human-animal bond, right? And there's nothing like having an animal, because that relationship is so different than human relationships.
I know,
because
right?
they're just so connected to you. They don't care what you look like, what you do, how much money you have. They just love you.
It's just love, right?
Yeah, they don't lie, they don't betray.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other thing, is that given my past, I think I was so susceptible to, and I am so susceptible to animals, and Penny is because of the love, because in the book, I had a fairly dysfunctional upbringing. So, I almost think, like, at a certain point, I could have been a sociopath.
I haven't read it all, but I'll read it.
Well, I just have to say something. After looking through this book, reading a big part of it, you are not a sociopath.
Yeah.
You have a conscience.
I'm confident in that now. But
you are nothing like that.
Yeah. But those two, the juxtaposition of sort of incongruity of love and the dysfunction that I had as a younger person, and even into my 20s, is I find coming to peace with that, or coming to understand it and learn from it, is great. super helpful.
Well, also that relationship is real and pure and
Mhm.
stable and secure
Mhm.
and always there.
Like, right. That's
And
true.
you
Yeah.
you can connect to that, and
Yeah.
that's what happens when everything else around you may
Mhm.
be a little off or dysfunctional or not happy. Doesn't make you happy. They do.
Yeah. This feels like therapy, and I love it, by the way. I'm loving this.
Well, I got two therapists here, so
Oh, good.
So the another point that I want to make is, and we talked about this before we started, is that the book isn't all about the loss of Penny. It's really an amazing compilation of experiences that show the way that loss and grief and love and dysfunction, all those things make a life, and that there is pain, there's joy, there's immense humor. And the thing about this book that always hits me is it's hysterical. I mean, all of these cartoons are as funny as they could be, and then there'll be a story about some kind of very painful thing in childhood, or the growing impairment of a loved one and then their demise. And all of that is there in a way that's just real. And I said this before, the word that keeps coming to mind for me in this book is healing, because it's all of life is there. And we just don't deal with loss and grief
very well.
and moving forward in the way we hold the grief, but we never forget. We just carry it with us, and it becomes part of who we are. And that's normal. It's not a bad thing. It's just life.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to internalize that to some degree
Yeah.
at some point, right? The last task of mourning is to incorporate the loss into your day-to-day life.
Yeah. That
You know,
makes sense.
you will never forget them. They will
Mhm.
always be part of your heart and
Yeah.
your soul, because they give you such gifts. I think you
Yeah.
had talked about that, Harry.
Yeah.
The gifts.
Exactly.
The
Yes,
gifts.
for sure.
Nancy, do you want to read the piece that you selected?
Yeah, this is a piece from Harry's book, and it's from his journal. Okay, so and it's pretty emotional. I just wanted people to know that. 11:30 p.m. My sweet Penny is gone. I miss her beyond words. I'm broken. Christ, what have I done? I want her back. Christ, I'm devastated. I owed Penny so much, so much. I honestly don't know how I can go on. I'm a fucking mess. I'm alone here in Cornish. After the doctor came and euthanized Penny at 6 p.m., I had to drive here alone with Penny dead in the back of the car. It was dark when we arrived. I put a still warm Penny on the dining room table and weeped into her body. Her smell was still sweet. God, it was so hard to bury her. Her eyes were gone, lost forever, and it crushed me so. This loss is too much, too much. I can't stop crying. I loved her so much. I don't know what to do. I'm practically suicidal. And I know that people resonate with this.
Oh gosh, yeah,
We have heard so many people feel the same way, which is really important because that connects all of us into the context of why this loss is so hard, you know. So
Hard to
yeah,
speak. Like I said earlier, it's hard for me to
read that. It would be
Yeah.
hard to read it.
Yeah.
How was it hearing it? Was it hard? It was hard too.
yes.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it is hard. Yeah.
But it signifies how much you loved her and how important she was and still is in your life, right? Because you never forget them.
Yeah. And the other thing about the journal is that the thing that, when you write a book, you have to copy edit the books. You have to go back. And I've never written a prose book before. I've done cartoon books, books with Steve Martin, and that's different. This is I had to reread these essays,
Yeah,
and it was extremely difficult to go back
sure.
and read them. And each time I read them, I would cry.
Of
Um,
course. Of course you would.
so, and I wasn't used to that or prepared for that, but but it was important, like you said, to write it down. And it's important to go back and read it and feel what I'm feeling right now,
Yeah.
or to hear it.
Yeah.
In
Because
some way.
these animals are so crucial in the context of how they get woven into the tapestry of our life.
Mhm.
And what are the gifts that she gave you? Can you talk about the gifts that Penny gave you?
Oh God, just her presence, her presence just it was hard to walk by her without, really noticing her. And I would think one of the gifts that Penny gave me and Junior gives me, my current dog, is that paying attention, is that the close study of the animal. I mean, in the book I write about, there were nights when Penny would be in our bed and I would look at her snout. I would look at the way the hair is growing out of her nose or around her nose. And she looked like a little werewolf, she, or I'll look at Junior's coat. He's an Aussie Shepherd. So, but the gift was to pay closer attention and patience. When you have a pet,
Oh yeah. You definitely need patience.
I'm sure
Yeah.
you're learning that with your new dog,
Junior.
with your puppy.
Yeah. I mean, he's very good. And Penny was just a saint. She was great, and she really did love me. She really, even Sophie will admit, and technically Penny was Sophie's dog. I came in after that first 7 months, but she trusted me. She knew I would put myself in front of a car for her. So, but
And
there
we
were,
pet parents would.
she's in countless cartoons.
I know. She's
I
That's
wouldn't have a career at this point if it weren't for Penny
That's
and
great.
dogs, because 85% of everything I do in terms of cartoons, and it involves some observation of watching Penny, the way she would roll or pick up sticks that were twice as size as she was, and carrying them home. And that was, again, I write about that in my journal too. That's in the book, the way Penny would. She was so specific about putting a stick down in the front yard, very careful. And I pay attention to that. I'm like, I wonder what she's doing.
What's going on in that head?
Right.
But
she
Harry,
inspired you.
Yeah, completely.
I wanted to just emphasize again that piece that Nancy just read is such a powerful gift, including the mention of I feel suicidal, or maybe I feel suicidal, because so many people experience that. And it is, they feel so bad about feeling that. And they feel like I'm nuts. I've lost my mind or something like that. And that is very normal in grief. It's very normal. And of course, if somebody actually is expressing suicidal thinking, it needs to be evaluated. But to say, I feel it, is many people, when they experience a great loss, and for many people, the loss of an animal companion is in fact the most extraordinary loss they'll ever experience. And that's another thing that freaks them out, that it's so many people will resonate with what you wrote and the depth of feeling in it. And the other thing I just want to comment on is there's a certain kind of special power, I believe, that comes from the fact that you're a man doing this. Because, men, for the most part, we're taught all this crap about being emotionally closed, like the only feelings you are welcome to have are anger and I'm okay, or I'm a little pissed off, or what. But to be able to go into a place of vulnerability and just be there and not turn it into something enraging or something else is really an important gift to men. It's an important gift to men to know that men can do that and still be men. We're still okay.
I didn't think about that, but it completely resonates with me because, like I mentioned how I grew up, and to to cry or to show your emotions was a sign that you weren't a man, or that you were weak, or that you were something. But it's interesting. It's just the opposite. It's like vulnerability.
Exactly right.
Of course.
Yeah, it's like being vulnerable and crying in front of a group of people makes you a superhero in my mind.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
Yeah.
it's
you're
true.
way more of a
That's
man
true.
than
Yeah. It's a great sign of strength, actually. It's a,
Yes.
It is.
It's strength. It's strong. It's grounding. It is an incredible model for your son. I have a son who's 32. Nancy has a daughter who's 30, 31, 32, 33.
Same age. They're all the same age. Yeah.
And so, for a man to be able to have the full palette of feelings is a breakthrough.
It is.
Well,
I learned that from I learned a lot of that actually from my, interestingly enough, the women in my life. That my wife, who's has been a yoga teacher for many years, but she's very compassionate, and I think my first wife as well was also taught me a lot about what we're talking about, and allowed me, by watching them, they kind of showed me how to do it.
Right.
And that's good.
And you had the sense of personal esteem and security to allow for that. You didn't defend against it, as so many men do, unfortunately.
I didn't have a choice. No, I mean, it sounds funny, but
That's good.
I didn't have a choice in terms of how could I grow?
Yeah.
How could I become a better artist, a better man, a better someone who is trying to make sense of his world without opening up and being and taking
having emotions.
Yeah.
It was really interesting because I work with a 66-year-old man. I work at a veterinary, ER specialty vet, and he found out that he had to euthanize his dog. And he lived alone with his mother. He was 66, she was 88. And the staff was like, what's with this guy, right? Because he was loud and he was talking and he was exuberant with grief. And I just went in and I sat with him. And at first he was like, well, why do you want to do this? Or why are you, what support? And then he opened up and he was crying. He looked at me. Have you ever seen a grown man, an old man cry? And I said, yes.
Yeah.
And by the time, his dog was euthanized. And then when we left, he hugged and kissed me and said, thank you.
Yeah.
So,
Breakthrough.
the whole staff was like rolling their eyes and like, what's the matter with this guy? And I'm like, there's nothing the matter with him.
Yeah.
But that's a real example of how through the pain of grief we are able to grow sometimes really in powerful ways.
For sure. And I think that like talking about feeling suicidal, hearing you read that and thinking, and it's a real emotion. It really, I spoke about it earlier, not knowing how I was going to go on, but again, putting this this idea that going through the grief is going to help you become stronger and in some ways more vulnerable.
Yep.
That has to be good. It has to be good. And it's going to help you in your relationships with everyone else. You're going to connect more. And that was that was my connection, I shouldn't say my connection, but in the kind of de facto introduction, which is called my intention. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to have intimacy with the readers. It was really important to me.
And you will get it.
Oh, it comes through. It comes through consistently. It comes through because you are so vulnerable in what you write. I mean, you don't hold back in terms of your own personal challenges, your foibles, your regrets. All of those things are, and that vulnerability is something that's going to touch everybody who reads it. Everybody who reads it is going to feel more connected to their own humanity, I think.
Yeah.
Through reading it.
That's what I hope. That is what I hope.
Yeah, that's the impact.
I think the goal that you have had will be reached.
Okay.
for a lot of people who read this, because you came out and took a chance. You had courage. You were brave. You could talk about how you really feel.
And right now I'm looking at an image of Penny mounting someone's leg.
That's Sophie.
Oh, is that Sophie?
That's Sophie. Yeah, she would, when Penny would, we would come in the door on occasion. She was so happy that she would kind of hump our legs. It was hilarious. And I don't know if I can say this in the podcast, but there is a page in there. And this just shows you how much we loved her. My wife said to me one day, she goes, you know what? If I could give Penny an orgasm, I would. Just so she knows what it feels like.
Hey, it's part of life, right?
No,
So,
it's just, and I can't get over how you go from. I mean, I'm looking at one image where there's a man apparently looking at his daughter, and she says, "When I grow up, I want to impeach a president."
Yeah. Yeah.
Where does this all come from?
Yeah, there are some cartoons that I still will look at in the book that make me laugh.
yeah, there's quite a few. They're really good.
It's a picture of used children's books, and they're like all,
Yeah, right, all messed up.
They're all,
yeah, and
so,
I'm looking through. There's one where there's a woman petting a very Penny-looking dog, and there's a man with leash, to the dog, and the woman, I guess they're out. He's walking the dog, and she says, "Look at you. What's your name, huh, cutie? What's your name? I can see the man walking you is of no help. We won't judge his rude behavior. No, we won't, will we?" Now that idea came to me through my wife, because Sophie was walking Penny one day, and she said that this woman was doing that to Penny, and Sophie was thinking, "Don't you know that dogs can't talk?" She didn't say this to the woman, but and Sophie said to me, I waited a long time to tell her the dog's name because it was really annoying.
Well, that's one of the things that people will say, and this is, I walk my dogs through a particular route, and you get to know people through their dogs.
Yes.
And often we know each other's dogs' names, but we may forget each other's the human beings' names.
Yeah.
We always know the dogs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, well, Harry, it has been a real privilege talking with you. It's been wonderful. Yes. And I wonder if you have a few thoughts that maybe you want to leave our audience with.
Well, I think that, first of all, this has been really helpful. I really do mean what I said, that I wish we had more time. It's like, I feel like our time's up. What's going on here?
You can come to my meeting on the 13th of May.
Okay. I'm going to put that on my calendar. No, I'm just super grateful to you both for sharing your time with me and allowing me to do this. But I just hope people read the book, and I know there's a lot of laughter. I'm proud of the book. I feel like when I got the actual book in my hands and I flipped through it, and there was, like I said, it was probably 3 years of curating this book.
Yeah.
It's not a graphic novel. It's a hybrid of things.
Yeah.
But I was really happy with it. I thought this.
Good.
I could feel Penny's little paw like patting me on the back. Good job.
She's there.
I'm sure. I think it's a masterpiece. I really do. Yeah. I think it's beautiful and incredibly moving, and I can't recommend it highly enough. And it's a great privilege that you're taking the time to be with us. And if you look in the description, I'm telling this to audience members, you'll find ways you'll find the link to the book to purchase it. You'll find information on Harry through his online presence. So please do that. And I just want to make one comment before I leave, and it's totally personal. And that is, I got a lot of kind words after we didn't have a program last week, Harry, because my aunt died on that day, on last Thursday, and I put a little note out, and many people shared words of support, and I just want to say thank you so much. It really touched my heart. And so we'll close for now. We thank you again. We'd
All
love
right,
to
it
talk
was
with you again sometime.
Anytime. Like I said, this was beneficial and wonderful. So thanks, Ken.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you. And good night, everybody. And if you, and I always often forget to say this, but if this program is helpful, please do subscribe,
Or
leave a
leave a
comment,
heart.
leave a thumbs
or a
up, because
thumbs up.
it makes the program more accessible to others. Thanks.
Well, thank you. Take care.